to this third video on this course, Online Harassment Journalist Strategies for Defence. My name is Ella Stapley, a digital security advisor working with the International Women's Media Foundation. This session will walk you through practical tips for documenting your abuse, including where to store it and also how to record it. But before I do that, let's talk about why documenting your abuse can be a useful thing to do. Documenting abuse is not for everybody. Going through abusive messages can be traumatic, and it can also be difficult to identify which threats really pose the possibility of physical harm, especially if your accounts are being subjected to thousands of messages a day. So why do it? Creating a record of your abuse can be helpful if you need to show others what is happening to you, including editors, other colleagues, organisations that defend freedom of expression, and in some cases, the authorities. Journalists have also documented abuse as a way of looking for stories behind the harassment, for example, harassment tied to government officials. Documenting your abuse can help you look for patterns such as repeat offenders, and it can also help you keep track of which platforms you have reported the abuse to and when. You will look at more of how to do this in the next week with Mira Abdallah. If you feel that you are unable to document the abuse by yourself, then you should reach out to a trusted colleague or friend to see if they can support you. If you are an editor or a colleague in a newsroom or a freelance community and you know that one of your colleagues has been subjected to online abuse, please consider reaching out to them to see how you can help. Now, one really good way to do this is to set up support networks, either within the newsroom or within communities, and offer your support that way. It will not be possible to document every online attack. There are simply too many of them, and your accounts are often rendered impossible to use by the amount of messages that you have received. Instead, you should focus on documenting repeat offenders or messages you feel are particularly threatening and could indicate that a physical attack could happen soon. This may include, for example, your address being circulated online. Now, let's look at how to document your online abuse. And the first thing you need to think about is where you will store your documentation. If you are storing information on a shared computer, such as a computer in a newsroom, a shared computer in your home, or at an internet cafe, ideally you do not want to store a file on that computer. If you do, please be aware that other people may be able to access this file and look at the content you are storing in it. So if you are storing a file on your computer, please ensure that you put a password on it and, where possible, encrypt this file. You should create a name for the file which does not give away any details about the content that is being stored inside. You may want to keep your documents in the cloud, for example, in Google Drive, and this is a lot more convenient because you are able to access it from many devices. However, you really need to ensure that your cloud account is as secure as possible. For example, using a password manager and ensuring that two-step verification is turned on, and you'll be learning more about how to do that in the final module of this course next week. The other thing that you may wish to consider is encrypting your documents, and one way you can do that to store them in the cloud is using a tool called Cryptomator. Encrypting your documents in the cloud will better protect them if your account is breached. However, if you feel that your threat comes from a government and that your government has the possibility to subpoena a tech company for your data, then you are advised to avoid keeping documents in the cloud where possible. So if you're not going to store your documentation in the cloud or on a device, you ideally want to be creating a copy of this on an external hard drive and keeping that external hard drive somewhere secure. You may also want to encrypt your hard drive in case somebody gains access to it. Now, backing up your data on online harassment is useful for everybody, not just people who feel they are being targeted by governments. So you may have a copy in your cloud account, but it would be also a good idea to back that content up in case you either lose access to your cloud account or your cloud account is breached. So the next thing you need to do is to create a spreadsheet, and we have created a template for you in the extra resources section of this module. The information you store in your spreadsheet should give you a general overview of the type of harassment you are being subjected to. So it's really important that you think about the type of data you want to document. And it's a good idea to include the type of harassment, the date of harassment, and the type of platform that you received the harassment on. You should also mention whether you have reported this abuse to a tech company, and this will be able to help you track your cases further down the line. You will also need to take a screenshot of the message, and it's important that the screenshot contains all necessary data. Why? Because this information can be used to not only help you identify patterns in your abuse, but is also information that could be requested by law enforcement if you decide to report it to the authorities and they start to look into your case. So what sort of information should you capture? It's important to take a screenshot of the whole message. Make sure you include the handle, that's the social media name of the person who is harassing you, as well as the date and the time that the message was sent. As I mentioned before, documenting your abuse may not be easy or indeed feasible, but it may be useful for you, your colleagues, or your newsroom. So get started today. Download our template for tracking online abuse. And if you want to find more information about documenting abuse and troll behaviour, then please consider taking one of our courses, Know Your Trolls, by the International Women's Media Foundation, also available in the extra resource section.